episode 44 of Stitched in Sweden. I'm Maria, your host, and you can find me on Ravelry and Instagram as Emmamonska. The show notes for this week's episode and from the previous episode and all the other episodes are available at stitchedinsweden.blogspot.com. I just got last episode's up today, so you'll be able to see those there now. Today I would like to talk to you a little bit about this week in Stockholm, a couple of acquisitions, some works in progress, one finished object, and some upcoming projects. So I wanted to start out today and just say a huge thank you to all of you who have been in touch this week, and to those of you who continue to post nice comments on YouTube and Ravelry as well as on Instagram. I read all of them, and it really means a lot, so thank you for that. So starting out with this week in Stockholm, it has been a very wintry week after a couple of days where we got a glimpse of spring, but not much has happened other than a couple of yarn packages which have arrived. I was able to do one exciting thing this week, not the only exciting thing, but one exciting thing I did this week was vote in the US primaries. So that was fun because I have not voted from abroad before, so I was happy to put that in. This week I did get a yarn package that I had been waiting for from an Etsy dyer, and this is a new to me Etsy shop, which is in Indonesia. And the name of her shop is Papiput Yarns, and I got 4 skeins of this yarn. I ordered it with one of my friends, and we split the cost of shipping to Stockholm. But here is one of the skeins, which is just as bright as it looks. And I got 3 of these. I'll show you the project I've started in a little bit with the other 2. And this is the Onde Monde color, which I looked up, and apparently actually it's on her Etsy shop. For every color she has a description of what the color means, and it's apparently a exclamation for something like "oh my," or yeah, an explanation of shock or surprise. So definitely really bright, but a really nice green, spring green. It looks exactly the same as the color of the first buds that come on a tree or something when it's spring, which it is not yet here. I'm looking outside and the tree is still totally dormant, I guess. I don't know if that's what you say when trees don't have leaves on them, because it's not dead, obviously. Well, part of it's dead, but that's another story. So 3 of these, and I'll show you that in a project already. And then 1 skein of Smoke Haze, which, oh, by the way, both of these are in her sock base, which is a 75% superwash merino and nylon. And this one is a lightly speckled yarn with some kind of sandstone colored here, kind of like orangey brown, I would say, and gray, and then that's on the white background. And this will probably be a pair of socks, but it might be stripes for something, because I've been seeing some projects lately that have a solid color stripe and then a speckled stripe. Like I have a yarn here, for example. I think that that could be a nice combination for a garment or something, but I haven't decided on that yet, and so this will just wait for a little bit and we will see what it will become. Yeah, so I'll talk about one of the other yarns that I got this week in a later segment, but I also have two non-yarn related things that I wanted to share. The first is some buttons that came. I got a package from my parents this week, and these beautiful little buttons are meant to go on my Wellwood sweater, which I have yet to knit. Let's see if you can see. I don't know if that's going to focus too well for you, but they are just beautiful little buttons, and maybe I'll put in a picture of them here if I can get a good picture of them, but I think they'll look really sweet on the Wellwood, so I just have to knit that. And they also got me this shirt, which will go under the Wellwood. It's kind of a tunic length top that is sort of similar to the top that the model is wearing in the pattern picture. So that was nice, and I need to think about casting that on soon so that I can, yeah, wear it with this top and use those buttons. The other non-related, non-yarn or knitting related thing that came this week is a book that I wanted to share because I know that I have mentioned that I am eating vegetarian now, and some of you have been interested in where you can find recipes or inspiration for cooking vegetarian. So I thought I would share with you The Green Kitchen, which is a thick book. This is actually by a Swedish and Danish author who are a couple who live in Stockholm with their 2 kids, and this one's in English. It's been written in many different languages. I think the US version, though, is called Vegetarian Everyday or something like that, Everyday Vegetarian, and it has a different picture on the front, but otherwise the other languages, and this is, I guess, the British version, have this cover. But this book is really inspiring if you are looking for, yeah, just some great everyday recipes that you can make, and I mean, the whole book is full of gorgeous photography. So I could really recommend it. They also have a YouTube channel, which I subscribe to, and they sometimes do quick videos there preparing one of their dishes. That they're just, I mean, even if you don't want to be a vegetarian or cook a vegetarian meal, you should watch those videos because they're really beautiful and inspiring. So I thought I would just share that with you, and otherwise I think we can move on to what I've been working on. This week I did knit a bit in class, so I continued working on my Crenate socks. These socks are a pattern by Rachel Coopy. Here's the first one. This is the second time I'm knitting this project. And the second one, I have just finished turning the heel and started on the gusset decreases. So I'll probably bring that to class again this week and knit a bit more on it. I am knitting this on my US 0 2mm Haya regular point sharpness fixed circular needles in magic loop, and the cable on that one is a 40-inch, which I think is 100 centimeters. Not sure on that, but it's on the edge of too long for me for magic loop. I would prefer to knit socks with a 32-inch magic loop, which I think is closer to 80 centimeters. It just started snowing. anyway, this yarn is the Wool Barn Smooth MCN in the Antique Rose color, and it is really soft and really nice to knit with. So I can definitely recommend the pattern. I enjoyed it so much the first time that I'm knitting a pair for myself, and Maya's yarn is just as lovely as it always is. The other project that I almost finished this week but didn't quite finish is my loose top. Now, you are probably all getting really tired of hearing about this top, but here it is again. It is now blocked, but it's also been folded on my desk, which is why it's a bit wrinkly. And so I finished off the upper, grafting it together with this little seam here this week. I also picked up and knit the full garter stitch collar that it's supposed to have, and I tried it on and I just really didn't like how much the collar cinched it up. So instead I ripped that out and I decided that I will pick up the stitches around the edge again, and I'm going to pick up more stitches than I did last time. So you can see that maybe you can see that they were picked up once already. They're a little bumpy. So I will pick up those stitches again, and instead of doing the garter stitch, I will just do an I-cord, which is like how the sleeves are done. So I'll just finish it off with an I-cord. But one of the main things that I did working on this project this week was weaving in all of the ends. So now that task is finished, which took me 2.5 hours, I think. So after that, I kind of didn't want to work on this anymore, especially after I had to rip out the neckline too. So yeah, I think I won't show you this again until it's in a finished object picture, which hopefully will be soon. Alright, and the last project that I worked on this week is a new cast on with the I just don't know how to say it, Pepiput yarn in this crazy yellow-green. And this is in my bag, which I mentioned last week, but I realize now, I just remembered now that I didn't put it in the show notes. This bag is one of my favorite that I use because there's no interfacing at all. I do like bags with interfacing for some things, but I really like this one, just easy drawstring bag, which I usually carry my sock project in my school bag, so that I can just stuff it down and have it not take up so much space. I also like it because it's sort of plain on the outside, but in this really beautiful fabric, which has like sort of, it's blue with like purplish red undertone, and then the inside is where kind of like the excitement is. And the crazy yellow-green yarn. So, what I have been working on is the Herbarium top, which is a pattern by Nadia Cretin, something with the L. I can't remember. I don't think I wrote it down. Let me see. Nadia Cretin Lechen, maybe? A French designer. And here it is. I have gotten pretty far on this. It's on 24-inch circular needles, my highest sharps interchangeable set. And I'm using a US size 3, which is a 3.25 millimeter needle, even though the pattern calls for a US 2.5, which is a 3 millimeter needle. A 3mm needle is not a common size, I would say, for US needles, because it's 2.5. I don't know. Usually you just have 2, 3, 4, 5 for US sizes. I often don't knit with the same needle size as the designer unless my gauge works out to be that. Now I don't see my little swatch that I did, but I wonder where that is. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So I did knit a swatch and measured for myself what my gauge was, and it was fine with the 3.25mm needle, which is the US 3. So here it is, and you can see that I have knit a bit on this. The front has this lacy texture. And the back is stockinette. It started out with a 1x1 ribbing, and yeah, I'm making some good progress. I actually have my measuring tape here, so I'll just do a quick measure. 8.5 inches, which is about 22 centimeters. So I probably am about halfway through with the body, I would guess. I'm going to lengthen the body just a little bit in the pattern. I don't remember exactly what length it is for, but I know that it is designed to be sort of not cropped, but slightly shorter length, and I prefer sweaters to be longer. Otherwise I'll constantly be pulling it down. This is from my friend Elena. It's a lantern moon, I think. Yeah. So, yes. And this sweater, now that I have started knitting it, I realize that it is sort of like reverse A-line, I guess. I don't know what that is called, or if it has a name, but it increases up like this to the sleeves. So A-line would be if you have this shape. This is the shape that it is. I don't know what shape that is, but I am following the pattern for everything so far. Normally I might add some waist shaping into a sweater, especially if a pattern doesn't call for any shaping at all, but because this one kind of has the sleeves with a drop shoulder and it's sort of a looser top with the lace in there, I think that I will just follow the pattern in terms of the increasing. So yeah, I'm really enjoying it so far. It's a really easy pattern to memorize. It's I guess an 8-row pattern repeat with the patterning on only row 1 and 4. So it means that a lot of it is just stockinette, but then you have a row of interest thrown in there every once in a while. And I wish I had brought my swatch over because then you could see the lace a bit better, because it's already blocked, but you can get a feeling for it, and maybe you saw the picture of it last week, or whenever that was. So I'm, yeah, like I said, really enjoying that. I knit maybe half of this while I was babysitting on Friday night, and then a little bit more yesterday, and today is Sunday, which I know you're not watching this on Sunday because I won't upload it till tomorrow, but, and I have my little lavender sachet from Olivia at This Handmade Life in my bag, which smells lovely and makes my project smell nice as well. So that is pretty much just flying off the needles. I wanted to say, so I'm still on the first ball, which I had such a difficult time winding. I had to cut it twice because I think I pulled from the wrong side of the loop. And even though maybe technically there shouldn't be a wrong or right side to pull from, I found the wrong side, and it was a serious pain to wind. But I just took my time. That's why this one is not wound up yet, because after doing 2 of them, I was just like, I need a break from this. So here is the other one, the second ball, wound up. The other reason I didn't wind up the last one, well, not really a reason, but I noticed that the first and the second ball were dyed more similarly, even though they're all from the same dye lot, technically. I don't know if you'll be able to see any difference here on the screen, but this one has a little bit less depth of color compared to this one. This one is a bit more green with yellows in it, and this one's just more yellow, kind of green. They're both really bright, I know. So because of that, I decided, and, you know, it's hand-dyed yarn. The dyer writes on the tag, you know, make sure that you alternate skeins. Actually, she doesn't have it on the tag, but she has it on her site. I'm not alternating skeins, but I will I'll alternate for a couple of rows during the transition period on the body with the second one that's most similar to the first one. And then for the last skein, which is, I think, noticeably different, I will hope that this will just be necessary for the arms so that it will be kind of a separate part anyway. We will see how it works out. So this yarn is bleeding a little bit. I noticed on my swatch it bled in the water, and so for my final garment I will probably wash it in vinegar the first time to try to help that color stay a little bit, and it's also coming off a bit on my hands. Yeah, I don't know if you can see it, but I have a nice little yellowy green tinge to my fingers. Anyway, really enjoying that project. Every time I close or open the bag, I get a nice poof of lavender. Now it's really snowing. Spring is not anywhere near, but luckily, nice transition there, huh? No. Luckily, I finished my colorwork mittens this week, and it was the perfect week to finish them because it has been a very wintry, snowy, not really snowy, but like just misty and rainy and foggy and cold week here, so I was really happy to have these mittens, which are finished. Yay! These are knit out of Jamieson's Shetland Spindrift, and you can find the colors on my Ravelry page. I was inspired to knit these by Leeside Knits and her Northern Skies mittens, and there's a link in both the show notes and on my Ravelry page for that. I did a different cuff than she did, and then is in the original sort of recipe for these mittens. And you can see these little stripes here are a pretty traditional cuff to do, I think, for mittens, but I had never done it before, so I followed the instructions in general from the Dala horse mittens, which I think is a Norwegian pattern. But they're really warm. I don't think that for these I will end up lining them like I said I might, but if I knit a second pair, I will knit them with maybe 4 extra stitches so that I have a little bit more room for a lining on the inside. But these ones I think would be a bit too tight for a lining, especially in the thumbs. I knit these mittens a little bit shorter than I normally would, so my hand sort of has to stay curled. If I stretch out my hand, it still fits, but you can see my finger poking up there. They are, a bit tighter that way. But I find that when I walk with mittens, my hands, when they're by my sides, like to curl like this. And if my mittens are too long, then my hands just get cold because there's too much space in the top of the mitten. So I would prefer to have a slightly shorter mitten than my normal hand extended, just to kind of allow them to be curled up a little bit and warmer. So, just a little random thing for me with mittens, but there they are. Really happy with how the colors turned out, and yeah, I really like these mittens. So that is the only project that I finished this week, but I do have another upcoming project that I will probably be starting this week. It needs the same needles that are currently being used to knit my Herbarium sweater that I showed you before. So I will need to put my Herbarium sweater to the side so that I can steal the needles from there. And right now I don't want to do that. So probably during the week I will start this sweater project, which will be a sort of test knit for a Norwegian designer, which you may have heard of, who is the Needle Lady on Ravelry. Her Instagram and Ravelry username is Pinneguri. I don't know how to pronounce it, but I think it also sort of means like the needle guru or the needle lady, maybe, I don't know. But it's Anne Meyer, and she is coming out with a beautiful new pattern that's a colorwork pullover, which is, to me, very traditionally Norwegian in style, with some modern flair, I guess you could say. And she asked if I would be interested in helping her with the English translation, not the translation itself, but helping her by knitting the pattern using the English pattern to make sure that everything was good there. So I said, of course, and I'm very excited to cast this on. This project is being sponsored by Holst, which is the Holst yarn, which I used for, the same brand of yarn that I used for my loose top. And this is a Danish brand. And you can order online from, you can order this yarn online at holstgarn.dk. This particular base that I got is different from the one that I knit my loose top out of. I knit the loose top out of this super soft, which is 100% wool, and this one is Coast, which is 55% lamb's wool and 45% cotton. I have 6 balls of this yarn. Each of them is 50 grams. I have 3 balls of the background color for the sweater, which is no color number, but it is the lead color. And that will be, the background color of the whole sweater. The sweater has snowflakes in colorwork throughout the pattern, throughout the top. So the snowflakes for mine will be in Dove, which is a slightly, I'm not really sure if it's like a warm light gray or a cool, it's like pretty much neutral, but I think it goes really nicely with lead. And so this will be the background, these will be the snowflakes, and then the sweater also has a contrast color collar, the sleeve cuffs, and also throughout the snowflakes there's little accents of this color, which I chose a rather mustardy yellow. And the color is aconite. I don't know how you say it. It's probably some type of mineral or something. It's spelled Aconite. Aconite? I don't know. It's also in Coast. So yeah, I'm really excited for this sweater. I think it will be really nice. And you can look, she has a couple of people who have already test knit this, and I think she's knit a couple of children's versions which are on her Ravelry page, and it is called Winter Storm in Norwegian, which is like Winterstorm. I'm not sure. Very close to that, but it's a longer one word. Yeah, but yeah, you will see it, and I will be sharing progress on this on Instagram and, of course, on the podcast. So you will be seeing that for the next couple of weeks, probably. I was also very nicely gifted the shade cards for Holst yarn. It's in a really crinkly bag. I haven't taken them out yet, but here are the shade cards for the Super Soft. And I think there's 3. Yeah. 3 in there. I really love shade cards because you can, I mean, obviously you can get a direct feeling of the color of the yarn, and especially on the Holst website, it's a little bit difficult to see exactly what the colors are. So it's nice to be able to see them directly in person. But if you don't have every color that they offer in person, like if you don't have a ball of every single color, you can use a shade card instead and just have a little sample of the colors so that you can try out different combinations and see what you're getting. Another thing that I also just like to look at for color inspiration when I'm planning projects and thinking about knitting things in color work. I have ordered some bamboo needles actually that I'm going to try out for this sweater because I have found lately that color work is going a little bit too slow on my carbons, Knit Pro carbons, and I'm thinking that I might be, I don't know, I might sell my interchangeable set of carbons because they really slow me down a little too much. In the beginning when I started knitting color work, they were the perfect amount of drag because otherwise my needles would slip out when I sort of had to drop them, especially when I have more than 2 colors at a time. But now I think they're just a little too slow. When I knit these mittens, I did them on metal needles and they went really fast, but I found that my needle did slip out a couple times and it was a little bit scary, but also not the perfect needles yet for knitting and color work for me. So I have ordered a pair of Haya bamboo needles, which I didn't even know that they made bamboo needles. So I am looking forward to checking those out and casting on for the winter storm. Otherwise, that is about it for this week. It's still snowing, and I guess there's still plenty of time to wear my mittens, even though for a couple days there I was thinking that spring was coming and that I had knit them just a little bit too late. I think that will be perfect for at least the next couple of weeks. Until next time, I hope you have plenty of time to knit and are enjoying everything that you make. And I will see you in about 2 weeks. Happy knitting! Bye!